Welcome back to Jamie Tech. In today video I'm going to show you people how to fetch users, and then how to fetch users from the Firestore Firebase. These are my users, the documents, and here I want to save those users to the file manager, the document, the apps document directory. And when they are saved successfully, then I want to check all FM users. So I want to show you the demo, and I'm successfully logged into this user account, right? And let's go and see the result. I have two buttons here which are saying that fetch user, and I have a fetch user function here. I will tell you later. And I have a get user function, which is this one, right, which get the users from the this get user function that we have, that we will we will see in the video, right, soon when we implement the code. And here we are test2, it is the file name, right? So what we need to do is to check out the things. So I want to show you in the here I want to show the result. I want to clear this, and I'm going to fetch these 1 2 3 4 5 users into the FM, right? So when I click to fetch the user, what I get is to user is this, and user 5, user 2, though they are not sequential. I will do that later. So I'm getting all the user from 1 to 5, and these users are from the they are successfully fetched and then saved to FM. We have not yet got those users from FM. Now I'm going to click delete. I'm going to clear this, and I want to check all user from the FM, and let's see if we have all users. Wow, we have user 5, and then where is the user 2, user 4, user 3, user 1? Wow, successfully they are fetched now from the file manager, the apps directory. So that is the demo, and now I want to get into the code base. What I want to show you people is that we're going to fetch user from Firestore, and then store those users into a file manager, the document, the apps document directory, the local, so that the customer can see their data offline. So no need of internet connection, right? So before wasting your time, let's go ahead and start the code. First of all, I need encoder and decoder for encoding the user to data objects, and then decoding the data object into user objects. So so that you know that what am I going to do is encoder. We need to have encoder, JSON encoder, and later we have decoder. Come on, decoder, and it is JSON decoder. Come on, decoder. Then I'm going to write two functions. One would be for getting the user from, we will save the user that are being fetched from the Firestore, and then we will do the same. We will also save the user in the fetch request, fetch function, into the user will be saved into a file manager, in simple words, like that. So I'm going to say that save user, we have a func, for example, save user, save users, save users, or maybe we are going to see that we can save a single user, but we are going to save whole users, right? So it will be an entity of I have created a model, user model, hope you know that, and I'm going to use that one. So what else we need to do, we need to have is the file name, where I want what we want to save in the document directory should have a specific name, not the every, not a random name. It would be specific, so that we can get and save the data into that specific file, and it would be of type string. Thanks. That is done, and now we have two parts. First we need to get the URL to the for the directory, for the get the URL for the directory. Where do you want to store directory? Hope I wrote it correct. And the second step is to, what we need to do is to encode the user, encode the user objects, right? Once we will get users, and they will be objects, right? User objects. Encode the users into data object. These are two steps in the save function, and as well as we will have another get users from the from the file manager, and it will only need a file name. It won't because we are returning from their user simply, and it will have this type of thing, right? But we will return something. We need to return user, right? Okay, and an array of user, right? We will return an array of users, and they will be optional. If we don't get it will return nil, right? So I'm going to say that here we will do the same two steps. I'm going to copy that right here and get the URL for the document. We need to head over to that specific directory, and then we will decode the data object, right? The data object into user objects. Simple. Into user objects, decode the data object into user objects, and then returned those. When we decode the object into user objects, then we will return those user, right? Those user objects, right? So that is perfect. The first step is, in both functions we have to get the URL. So what we want to do is to we have get URL path. So we need to get the URL path. That is simple, and it is important for both. It is mentioned in both of the in both functions. So what it will need is to have the file name. If we want to save something, if we want to get the URL path, it needs a file name that what you want to save with. With what name you are saving in that specific directory. So what I want to do is to create a URL, get the URL path, and this will return an optional URL, right? So we are done with that, and now what we need to do is we need to specify the directory. Where do you want to save your data? For example, the document directory, the music directory, the user, cache directory. There are 1,000, right? Sorry, 1,000. There are more directories. So I want to say that we need to, use the directory, the document directory. Directory, and it is something like file manager dot default dot URLs for the document directory. We are going to use the document directory, and it is the user domain mask, right? and it is the first, and we're just returning what it says that, actually it is a class, to get the apps document directory URL, and it is it is an array of URLs, right? So we have to get, but we are going to, it is an array of URLs, but we are just going to head to the first one, right? The first one, and it is optional. So I want to use the God late, God late, and we have else return name, right? Good to go. We get into that specific directory. Now what we need to do is to we are going to append, if we get into that particular directory, we get the URL. I mean, we return the URL. Now, late URL, what we are returning is to get into that specific directory, and with this name, right? So we have URL with doc directory dot appending this one, right? With the file name, and what we need to do is to return the URL. Return URL. Come on, URL. Good. We're done with this one. So I want to close this, and here the first step is to so here is the main important thing, that we have to create the file URL, or file URL, something like that. We need to get URL path with that file, the file that has been declared in the as a parameter. So we must have to unwrap God late. Come on, man, don't test me. God late, so that we must have correct file, correct path, else return, good to go. So we must have at least the file URL. Value was defined but never used. Okay, we are going to use it. So what we need to do is to go and use the, to do this part, right? What I want to do is to, we need to handle the, the error as well. So I'm going to use the error handling method. For example, do case block, and here case, for example, print error. This part would never execute, but just we are self-coder, so catch block is unreachable. Now that we are done with the do catch block, now we need to in the do section, we are going to encode the user object into data object. So for that we need to do something like, for example, we are going to say that we have users user data, or for example user data equal to try an optional, right? Or maybe on right, going to, we have an encoder dot encode data, right? And we have the data, the user that has been got from there, right? Users, come on, man, where am I? We're going to encode the users. Okay, good to go. We need to handle, unwrap the optional. God wait this. Okay. Else return. For example, we are going to return, if we encounter something, we are going to print something. For example, we are going to print, for example, we are going to return can't, we're going to see that cannot, an error message, for example, cannot encode user data, for example, and we will else bang out from here return. So we have done this, and what else we need to do is to the next step is to write the user into the document directory into the disk. So here I want to say that hope this is into object and then write those write the data into the disk. Okay, here is the second step. So now what I want to do is we're going to try, we have data, we have user data dot write to, and we are going to we have a file where we want to write the data is file URL. Hope it is that is done almost. You can also say that we have options for that, atomic, come on, how to say dot atomic, so that it could write the data automatically, faster. So we're done with the save function, right? It will get the users, and first these things will be passed to the function and file name, and once we get the file name with that, we get the URL path for that, and we are going to encode the user into data object, and then we wrote those data into to the file manager, right? So we're done with this. Now we have the second part is this. First of all, we are going again, same thing is going on. For example, we need to get the URL, for example, file URL, come on, your file URL equal to for example, we have the get URL path for then, and it would be the file name, and hope it is save coder, and else return nothing. Bang, we have a correct file name. So we head over to that, and we get the URL path for that. If we don't, we'll say that return nothing. What else we need to do is to, this part is left. Decode the data object. In the file manager, the document directory, we have the data object, not the user object. So I have to encode. Again, we are going to do the do catch block. We might get the error. For example, print. Yes. For example, can't decode, or maybe you can say that something like that. For example, can't decode the data, cannot decode the data. For example, bang, data, right? Okay, and here what I want to do is to this is the main part, the main part we want to do. So the first one is to we need to first we need to read the data from the file, so that we have data in that file. For example, we have the file name, and we have got the URL path, and then we need to check that whether there is data or not. So I want to say, if there is no data, we don't need to decode the data. So I want to say that got late user data, for example user data equal to try again with cache. Come on, this, and what we need to do is to say that data from, come on, data content of, come on, what's going on? Hey, I'm wrong. Data and content of, and we're going to read the data in that specific file URL, right? And we might have an options with dot mapped safe, right? And if we don't have, then we are going to return nil, bang out, right? We are going to return nil to nothing if we don't have data, right? We are self-coded. Again, I'm telling you. So once we have data, in that file URL, so what I want to do is to simply decode the data. So got late, again I'm going to unwrap got late users, exactly users equal to try again. Okay, we need to decode the data, decode, I mean where I mean we are going to user, come on man, user, I'm using the model, right? I'm using this model. Okay, what we need to do, and we have user data, exactly, that is cool. Else what we need to do is to return, if we don't, if it fails, we are false. Okay, return, or we can say that return, or we can say print a message as well. For example, print, for example, sorry, can't, come on, cannot decode the data, the user data, for example. Bam. Okay, we might get a, okay, we have handled the error here, return. Okay, we are going to return nothing. Okay, that's done. And at the end, once we have user sorry, once we have user, I want to return those users. Bam. For okay, good. Users, good to go. That's done. We are done with the get users. Simple. We get the file URL, then we decode the data if we have, then I mean first we had to data, for example, and then if we have data, then we are going to decode those that data into user objects simply and returning those user. Awesome, that's done. I think, come on, what's going wrong? Expect something, self. Where am I? Oh, yes, it needs to say self. Good. Now it is done, and this part is done. Come on, hope it is not non-void function returns. What's going wrong? I don't know what's going wrong. Here, oh, sorry. We're going to say that return nil, return nothing. Hope now we are done with this part, and of course we handle the error before we reach to the catch block, so it is unreachable. No worries, you need to handle the error. So we are done with this part, and now I'm going to go into the next part, I mean, which is to fetch the user from FireStore and save the user to file manager. Hope that is helpful. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe as well as share with your friend. Bye.